Red Hood and the Outlaws number 30, written by Will Pfeiffer, art by R.B. Silva and Rafa Sandoval. So, last issue, Arsenal was on Starfire's ship, it got hijacked and brought into deep space, and now he's doing a Die Hard. Meanwhile, Red Hood and Starfire are like, hey, let's get a ship and go up into space to try to rescue Arsenal. So it's intercut over the course of the issue, but I'm just going to give you the entirety of Arsenal stuff first because it's super quick to describe, and I'll get back to where it hits at the very end. So Arsenal's on the ship. Like I said, he's trying to do a Die Hard. The aliens that took the ship are able to regenerate from any sort of attack. So Arsenal has loaded up all of his arrows with wires on the end, and we see him enacting his plan where he busts open the vent, shoots everyone full of a bunch of arrows, and then he's going to electrify it, and he thinks that's going to take him out. And theoretically it will, however, he doesn't account for the fact that the battery that he has hooked all these arrows up to needs to charge before it's able to fully unload its electrical output. So he stabs all these guys full of arrows, and then the charging needs to happen, so he gets the crap kicked out of him for a little bit. But then as they're like, all right, whatever, throw this guy off the ship. We got a buyer who's ready to do our genocidal stuff. He presses the button, and all of them go down, and Arsenal just goes booyah. So we'll get back to him at the end. Meanwhile, we cut to Red Hood and Starfire. So last issue, we got the tease that they were going to Shade, which is where Frankenstein is, and they were going to steal a ship from them. Turns out, yes but no, because first we go to a Blackhawks depot. For people who were reading at the very beginning of the New 52, they make reference to saying this was the Blackhawks facility that was destroyed in issue number 8 of Blackhawks. And they're looking for a ship. They just need a little ship in order to fly around and teleport to certain places. They're making their way through this place. It looks totally abandoned. But then suddenly this weird little dude comes out and he speaks with a very computerish voice. And he's like, oh, may I help you? My name's Carl. And everyone's like, hey, Carl, we need a ship. And they're like, oh, this is government property. I can't let you take that. And he's like, all right, never mind, Carl. I'm just going to look around myself then. And then Carl transforms into this, crazy cyborg with a whole bunch of weapons coming out of his chest. He starts blowing away at Red Hood, and Starfire's like, all right, enough of that. She uses her super beams to just incinerate Carl, and it's like, all right, is that the ship we need? And Red Hood's like, yeah, that looks good to me. And they start taking off. We do see Carl hops onto the ship, and it's clinging to the wing after them. So Starfire asks for clarification of why haven't we taken off into space? And Red Hood, through more words than I'm comfortable trying to even parse here, basically says this ship isn't going to with how deep into space we need to go, it would be too slow to get there. However, Shade has ships that can basically just teleport right to where we need to be. But to get into Shade, we need to take this ship because Shade is using dwarf technology to make itself super small, and this is the only way that we could theoretically even get into it. So they take a portal into Metropolis, and they look around, and they're like, okay, we're looking for a baseball just floating in the air somewhere. That's the size of this thing. And Red Hood manages to spot it, and they take this whole ship, and they're just like, all right, well, we got to crash right into it. It's the only way in. And so they crash into this baseball. Inside of Shade, Frankenstein's doing some hologram training when Father Time comes up. I'm just going to assume you know all these characters. If not, watch Frankenstein, Agents of Shade. The reviews for that are elsewhere. Regardless, Frankenstein is met by Father Time and just like, hey, we're being breached. I need you to protect Shade. And Frankenstein's like, I'm not a part of Shade anymore. Why would I do that? But then all of a sudden, Red Hood's ship just comes in. And because it's a lab, it's like a government building pretty much, it doesn't have parking for unexpected jets. So it just crashes in and explodes. And Red Hood and Starfire are like, well, I guess any landing you can walk away from. So they're immediately beset on all sides by security, which is just a bunch of robots, and Starfire starts taking out them. Meanwhile, Frankenstein comes up, starts sword fighting with Red Hood. Red Hood's like, haha, what's the matter? Never fought someone trained in a League of Assassins? And then Frankenstein just punches him through a wall. So at that point, Frankenstein's like, you're not much of a threat. I don't know why I'm needed here. And then Starfire comes in, sets Frankenstein on fire. He's not phased. He's like, that's not the first time I dealt with fire. And she's like, all right, let's turn up the heat. And she goes full like supernova atomic on him. And Starfire's like, hey, Jason, that's twice now I've saved your ass. You owe me one. And he's like, yeah, no, totally, whatever you want. So they manage to find the different ship they're looking for, the one that can teleport. Starfire's like, I'll fly this thing. You just, like, tell me what the plan is. And as Jason's about to start describing it, the startup sequence has begun. Frankenstein yanks him out of the ship and just being like, I'ma kill you. Like, you that hurt, and I'm going to hurt you back. And as he's about to swing at Red Hood, Carl comes out, grabs hold of Frankenstein, and just basically saying, like, hey, get off of him. I have no idea why Carl's on the side of Red Hood here. It makes absolutely no sense. But regardless, Red Hood get back in the ship. They start up the engines, and Frankenstein's just like, oh, this isn't the end. I will get you if it's the last thing I do. So all that happens. And then as they are in deep space, at least it seems like space, because they're saying that they still need to pick someone up on Earth in order to nail down the coordinates. I don't get it. Regardless, they're able to call up Roy, and it's like, hey, you cool? And he's like, yeah, I'm cool. I'll just be chilling here. I took out the aliens that hijacked the ship. And he's like, great, awesome. We'll be there in like a few minutes. So at that point, there's an explosion on Starfire's ship. Roy's taken out, and then all of a sudden, a giant size of billion shoe comes out and just plants itself on Roy's chest, and it starts monologuing, saying like, oh, I've been watching you all along. It's crazy how efficiently you took out those guys. They were supposed to be the best of the best, but hey, you saved me having to pay them because they're actually just subcontractors for me. So get ready for me, the main man. It's Lobo, old Lobo, 90s Lobo, not new Lobo. So yeah, Lobo's here. Here's a little sad fact. I was looking ahead, and Will Pfeiffer here, he is on last issue, this issue, and the next issue. And then we go back to Scott Lobdell. And while I don't think this arc is anything super impressive, the fact that there's just this looming threat of more Scott Lobdell coming up in just 2 months' time, I want this to last forever. And maybe that's clouding my judgment, but like, I look at this and I'm like, yes, please, more. Please don't stop. In reality, if I'm trying to be objective here, it's a fine issue. I don't really have any problems with it. I do think that it's a little bit convoluted, the idea of like, we need a ship to get to the ship to go into space, but we also need someone to nail down the coordinates. Go over this again. Do a second draft. I think that you got a little bit complicated here. Maybe Will Pfeiffer originally was told he had more issues to work with before they like cut him back because Scott Lobdell took whatever blackmail he has on Dan DiDio and just waved it around. But I don't know. It seems really rushed to me and really complicated for no reason. So whatever this is, it seems like it's kind of just a love letter to early New 52, which is weird considering we're less than 3 years into it, but hey, whatever. I'm going to give this one, I'd say it's a flat 6. There's not a lot going on to this one. It's not awful, it's not abysmal, but it's not great by any measure.